Yo, welcome on in. Schmitty32 here. Thank you all so much for stopping by again. Today's video is going to be just a little different. We've been doing a lot of the gym workout content. Those that have been around a little while know that the shoulder has been a little ornery. The back was feeling a little weird today, so we are going to take just a little bit of time off and going to do some content that I've wanted to do for a little while. Kind of do the origin story and explain kind of how I got where I am and the method to my madness here. So don't forget to hit the bell icon, subscribe, like, and comment if you're enjoying these style of videos. But this all started a really long time ago for myself. I think I started lifting weights in sixth grade. I was very active in sports pretty much my entire life, football, track, wrestling. Started lifting in sixth grade. I was probably about 11 or so years old. My best friend and I, it was for football. We were like, bigger, faster, stronger program, which was the kind of the strength training program that we had back in our high school football program, or middle school and high school. So in sixth grade, I started hitting the gym. It turned into a strength competition between like my best friend and I. We really like got motivated to see who was going to be the stronger person, and it all just kind of started there. I got stronger really fast, and I really enjoyed that kind of environment and atmosphere. And yeah, I did that all through high school. I got to the point, I was doing some powerlifting. I was benching about 385 pounds at 17 years old. I was squatting about 450 or so, 475, and I was doing all the strength training, which has been pretty much my routine most of my life. It was never about hypertrophy, was never about, the big muscles. It was all about strength. How much can you lift? And that's where my arms kind of fell behind a lot of times, because when you're doing the powerlifting, it was the deadlift, the squat, the bench press, the clean, where it was I never really focused on, arms. It wasn't how much can you curl, it was how much can you bench press, how much can you squat. So I focused on strength training for the first, I think, probably 8-ish or so years, till I was about in my mid-20s or so. I grew up always a fat kid. I was, I think, 150 pounds in elementary school, in 5th grade. Had my big growth spurt. Like, I was the first one to hit, like, puberty and really grow. So between 5th and 6th grade, I went from probably about 5'5" and 150 pounds to, like, 6 foot, 5'11" and like 200 pounds. And so I really stretched out, but I gained a lot of mass. And then once I started lifting weights, like, I got strong fast. Like, I feel like, I don't know, my body was predispositioned to like gaining muscle and gaining strength. I've always felt that way, which we'll talk a little later on kind of what led me down this kind of specific path and where we are kind of headed right now. So I've always been a fat kid. It was just that way my whole life. I've always been husky, heavy. I've been strong, but I've never been like kind of the athletic build. I've always wanted to have, like, those big arms, the big chest, the abs, the things that I think, most, guys want. It's like you want to look good, you want to do all this. And so it was about 25 or so, I kind of did my first half ass bodybuilding workout routine. Did that for about 10 months. It's happened, I think this is the 4th time in my life I've lost around 80 to 100 pounds within a year, but this is the first time I've not only lost it, but kept it off. So, back in my kinda early mid-20s, I did kinda go on, it's been more like weight loss journeys, where it's like you focus on the number on the scale rather than, like, how defined you are, what's your vascularity or muscle mass. I was never that, focused on that. It was all out of like depression. It was like I hated the way I looked, being a fat kid. And as those that have been around, I have talked about some of the mental struggles that come with those things as well. So that's just kind of where it always started, where it was just it was always I wanted to like myself. I felt like in order for other people to like me, that I had to look good, that I couldn't be this fat guy. And that's kind of where growing up I kind of got that funny guy mentality, and always kind of been the comedian in the group. I figured if I could get people to laugh with me, they were less likely to laugh at me. And so it always started with those mental struggles. And it was like I would lose all that weight. I would lose 100 pounds. And then I would get content and I would slip right back into old habits. And then over the course of like, 3, 4 years, I would put all the weight back on. And so it was a vicious cycle of like gaining the weight and then hating the way I looked. And then I would lose all the weight and I would be happier with the way I looked, but I was still depressed. It was not the solution to what I was looking for at the moment. But I did that back and forth a couple times. As I said, this is the fourth time I've lost around 100 pounds, but the first time I've actually been able to keep it off. And part of the motivation of that was just kind of some slight medical intervention. So a little backstory to this too. I have a family history of diabetes. My parents, my grandparents, and I had some siblings that were diabetic as well. And I would watch their health kind of slowly decline year after year, decade after decade. Um, not necessarily taking care of themselves to the best that they could with the condition that they had. So I remember as a very young man, in my teens, 13, 14, 15, that I remember seeing it and thinking that, if you have these conditions, like why don't you do something about it? Like you can do a lot about it. And I told myself that if I found myself in that situation, I would not repeat those same mistakes. So you fast forward a couple years, I was I think 38 years old. I'd already had a suspicion that I was diabetic. I know all of the signs, the frequent urination, the kind of like blurry vision a little bit. Like I knew the signs and I knew it. And I purposely avoided the doctor for a little while just because I'm a sugar addict. I'm a food addict. I love that stuff. But I knew if I went to the doctor and confirmed what I knew, then there was no more ignoring it. There was no more denying it. I either was going to live with this condition and die by this condition, or I was going to try to do better. And so the young man in me, I promised myself that if I ever found myself in that situation, I was not going to repeat those same mistakes. So I went into the doctor, had the blood work done. My A1C came back at a 10.2. So my average blood sugar was I think probably around 230, 240, something like not good. So on that track I was going, I mean, I'd be lucky to see 55. So I got that information. 10.2 A1C, Andy, you're diabetic. What are you going to do about it? And pretty much starting that next day, I went keto. I did not eat pretty much a single carb for like 6 months. I lost 80 pounds in 6 months. And in fact, I lost it a little too fast. Where chemically and hormonally, my body did play catch up for a little while. Um, so it was about 8 months or so in, I'd lost, 80 pounds or so, very short, like 6 months. And I started having like dizzy spells. I started feeling really weird. And after going to the doctor and kind of talking to some people, what ended up happening is where most people don't go into hypoglycemia till they're, like around 60 or so blood sugar. Since my elevations were so used to being so high that anytime I got underneath 80 blood sugar, I started having hypoglycemic responses where my body went into panic mode with the lightheaded, the dizziness, the increased heart rate. My blood pressure would shoot up to like 160 over 90. And it was like I constantly felt like death. And it took a little while, about a year or so, after that fact, for my body to kind of really bounce back and become normal. It wasn't until this last fall that I started kind of feeling normal again this last kind of October, November. And now I feel like I'm really sitting in a really good spot. So with that being said, that's kind of what got me into like, okay, let's lose weight. Let's lose weight. So through my work, I am able to get a gym membership. And so they work enough hours to qualify for insurance. So they were paying for my gym membership. And I was like, let's get started. Okay. I want to get back in the weight room. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time. I made the commitment to cosplay as Kratos this summer as a way to kind of help keep myself honest. So on stream and on here and everywhere, I've definitely advertised that, hey, I'm competing in these competitions. I'm doing this cosplay. It's a way that, again, we can all help keep me honest and stay focused and stay on track and accountable. And it'd be really fun to watch the journey along the way. So it started out as, hey, I want to cosplay as Kratos. Let's like, get in the gym. So part of the gym membership, you have 3 free, like, DEXA scans. They have these scales that you can kinda stand on with your bare feet, hold these, like, handles, and they'll, essentially, do I mean, more accurate than what my scale tells me at home. But, so I had that DEXA scan done, and according to what it showed, like, it kinda confirmed that I do genetically, I feel like, have the potential to do something really special. And I feel like it would be an absolute waste. I've always kind of felt genetically that I had a little more potential for like the muscularity and to get big muscles. I do feel like I have good insertion points. I feel like I build muscle really fast. So I was like, shit, I'm 40 years old. I got maybe 10 more years of good genetics before everything fucking goes to hell. So we're trying this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna go all in. It's something I've always wanted to do. I've always just, again, that fat kid in me. I always wanted just once in my life to be like, I'm the big guy. Um, and then so after the DEXA scan, I just decided, hey, I'm all in. I've wanted to do this for a really long time. Let's just pop in and do this. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to compete in at least one show. There is a natural amateur bodybuilding competition in Des Moines, Iowa. So May of 2026. I'm just gonna, yeah, I'm gonna compete at least once. So the goal is to get down to 8% body fat come that point. So right now I'm probably sitting at around 18 to 20. Um, I want to get down to about 12% come the end of cosplay season in July. I'm gonna bounce back up to around 18% body fat and then drop down to competition in, to about 8% come May of 2026. But I just wanted to get on here and kinda talk about what, kinda what inspired me to go on this route, what inspired me to kind of go into bodybuilding of all things. It's such a crazy sport to get into. It's so grueling, like, mentally and physically, and this is where, for myself personally, I find enjoyment in that, where it's like, it is such a challenge where it's like, you can't just be dedicated for a day, a week, a month, this is like a lifestyle, and it's just you have to eat the right things, you have to work out right, you have to rest right, sleep right, and it's just I don't know, it's such a fun challenge to see how far I can push it. We do wanna get at least 1 show in. We will be about 42 years old when we compete in our first show. But I've always wanted to do it. I figured now is the time, and age is just a number. I as I've kind of started eating healthier and been more active and fit, I'm probably more fit and active right now at 40 than I was at 25. I could go out and run 7 miles, no problem. But I feel like I'm healthier and in better shape, not only because of my exercise habits and routines, but just I've been clean eating for like 2 years now, and I don't know if I could ever go back to just eating all that junk food. I love my flaming hot Cheetos, but I look at it and I'm like, I'm going to eat you and I'm going to feel like shit for 3 days. Or if I just eat clean food, I feel great all the time and I have all this energy. And it just got to a point in my life where I'm like, I need to age more gracefully. The way I was going, I was going to end it at about 55. Shit, if I was lucky, man. But ignorance was bliss. I enjoyed it while I had it, and now, I kinda treat it more of a European style where it's just I treat treats as that, treats. I've never been one where it's like, "Oh, eat a cookie in moderation." No, fuck that. I could never do that. I can't eat just 1 or 2 cookies and be like, "Oh, I'm good." No, I'm gonna eat the whole fucking box and not regret a damn thing, but the way I'm able to still get away with that is I just don't eat sugar at all. except for maybe once, twice a month. Now I've been doing my intermittent fasting and doing my cut right now. So I haven't had really any sugar since the Super Bowl. I think I had one kind of cheat day. There's going to be a wedding I'm going to go to next month where I'll have maybe a little bit more leeway. But otherwise, my junk food meals right now are hey, I'll have 6 ounces of pasta and some meatballs instead of chicken, broccoli, and cauliflower with some edamame. But I just wanted to get on here and put something out on YouTube today. We're resting up a little bit, gonna let the shoulder rest. We're gonna get out for a little walk later. But as I said, wanted to get on and just kind of talk about my routine, my backstory, my origins, and kind of what got me here on YouTube and on this weight loss and bodybuilding journey. But don't forget to follow us on Twitch as well. You can catch us live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Friday or Thursdays, and Saturdays at twitch.tv/Schmitty32. We'd love to have you hang around. We don't do anything special, but for those that want more than just the bodybuilding and workout content, we do go live on Twitch 4 to 5 days a week, where you can catch us playing video games, reactions, and doing just a number of shenanigans. But I hope you're all having a great rest of the day. Thank you all so much for watching this video. And again, if you happen to like this, feel free to hit that bell icon, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment to let me know kind of where you are in your journey, or maybe you were inspired by this. That's kind of the goal. Hopefully, we can get some more people on board with some healthier living. I know it definitely changed my life, and hopefully, it can change yours. But I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.